It's just a mess. It is a complete mess. And then heading into episode 4, everything just gets worse. Hey guys, welcome back to Candid Cinema. I'm Amanda, otherwise known as AMX NDA Reviews on Twitter, Instagram, and Letterboxd. Today I will be reviewing episode 3 and 4 of Euphoria Season 2. And I know I took a bit of a break last week just because I was covering Sundance, and I'll have those reviews up as well for you guys. But let's dive into episode 3. So as per usual, at the beginning of each review, I put a disclaimer. I will be talking about some really strong subject matter. So this is your disclaimer right now. If you haven't watched Euphoria, if you don't know what it's about, then you have been warned. The beginning of episode 3, the focus was on Cal, Eric Dane's character, Nate's dad. I think the reason why I wanted to pair 3 and 4 after watching 4 now is the fact that both episodes heavily focus on Cal and his midlife crisis that he's having and looking back at the way life used to be in high school for him. And the focus on Cal, I think it's meant to gain sympathy for the character, considering that he couldn't live the life that he wanted with the love of his life, which was his best friend, his bro, Derek, in high school. And I like that they created that tension between both characters. They're more than bros, but you don't want to cross that line. But they did have a more intimate relationship, and you could see that there was a difference between like friendship and then what they had. The whole in excess moment at the bar after they graduated, after like Cal looking at Derek with those eyes, and even when he was hooking up with his girlfriend at the time, Marsha, who became his wife, like he was thinking of Derek. Like those little moments that build up, I guess they wanted to do that just to set up what happens in episode 4, which I will get into. But the focus on Cal's just, it's so weird. And he's having this midlife crisis. He's just intruding on these teenagers because of what Nate did. Like Nate took the tape and he doesn't know where it is, but like, we know it's with Maddie, and that's a whole separate section that I'll get into. But this thing with Cal and how it carries on to episode 4, I personally think that it should have just been in one episode instead of dividing it the way that they did, because many of us don't care about Cal at all. We cut to present day, and Rue is high as a kite. She blames it on weed, even though she's taking more than that, as we all know, to kind of cover it up with Gia. And then we get to see another projector presentation with Rue explaining how to cover up the fact that you are using again. I personally thought that was a bit too far, because you're teaching the audience who may be struggling with substance abuse. Like it's just, you're teaching them how to cover things up. And I know that it's a backwards way of doing it and raising awareness, but I think that that was just a bit too far, especially teaching people how to gaslight and what the definition of gaslighting is. Like it was a very odd way in doing so. The thing with Rue being high all the time is really odd because Jules still hasn't caught on. And then even when they're having those sexual moments, those intimate moments, Jules still doesn't catch on and realize that Rue isn't really invested in that with her. And you can see that. And it depends on the high that she's on. But the thing that really annoys me is the love triangle, which I had said before. The love triangle of Rue, Jules, and Elliott is going to be problematic. And boy, is it problematic. So the issue with this is that Elliott and Rue, they're both keeping a secret from Jules. And then Jules confides in Elliott about Rue's like sexual nature and her sex drive and how it doesn't match the way Jules is and like who she was. And Elliott can see that. And they're talking about Rue in that way. I just felt like it didn't make any sense for Jules to confide in Elliott in that way. And then Elliott obviously compliments her and just teases her a bit and jokes around with her. They're flirting. So you see their relationship shift. I think that's messy. And Jules literally was very close with Maddie in the previous episode. And I'm like, why wouldn't you go to Maddie with this if that's a mutual connection? But I just don't like any of them. Like Rue, Jules, and Elliott, I don't care for that storyline. It gets worse in episode 4. I just can't deal with them. And the fact that Jules went behind Rue's back and spoke to him about it, Elliott's a nobody to them right now. So it was too soon, oversharing like way too soon. Then we get into Lexi's side of things. We're going to switch gears. And I was really happy to see that Lexi was in this episode a bit more. She is writing a play. She's writing a play. And it's not Oklahoma, as we know, but it's based off of what she sees, and she's an observer, and we get to see a little bit more of Lexi, but we don't get enough of Fez, which pisses me off. We don't get enough of Lexi and Fez together. So Lexi's in the middle of that. She's adorable, and she's writing about all the stuff that's happening with Cassie, or being in the shadow of Cassie, and the stupid things that Cassie does. Speaking of my girl, Cassie, Sydney Sweeney is killing it, absolutely killing it this season. This episode, I was just like, girl, I'm rooting for you, but please stop what you're doing right now. This girl just wants Nathaniel's attention. I don't understand why, but she wants Nathaniel's attention. She knows that she can't be with him in public because of Maddie. So to get his attention, she dresses to the 9 every morning. She wakes up at 4 a.m. Everything from her hair to her makeup to like just straight up putting on the best clothes, the best outfits that she can think of to impress Nathaniel at school. And he doesn't even bat an eye until she dresses like Maddie, which is cringe, because it could be one of two things that Nate notices. It could be like, why in God's name are you dressing like Maddie? Or, hey, you're dressing like Maddie, keep doing it. So it's two ways of looking at that as well. But Cassie is like on the verge of spiraling. She hasn't spiraled yet. We see that in episode 4. This episode wasn't that bad. I just do not like the editing and the structure of the episodes. Like the scenes are strong, most of them, but the editing is really jarring now, and there's no flow. It's like you're cutting scenes that are supposed to breathe. And this gets worse in episode 4 because it looks like Levinson doesn't know what to do with these characters right now. Then as the episode goes on, we see that Rue has an idea. And the fact that Fez is the voice of reason with this idea says everything you need to know about how stupid Rue is being. Rue has a proposition for Fez, and she goes to him and says, listen, if you can spot me $5,000 worth of drugs so we can have all the drugs and then we can get the money back somehow, I think this is a good idea. Fez is like, you're out of your mind, I'm not doing this. And then because Rue doesn't listen to Fez, and because she does want to get high and do the drugs for whatever reason, she goes to Fez's plug, which was Lori, the other drug dealer that we saw in the second episode. So she goes to her and gets this big ass suitcase of drugs. Here lies 1,000,001 problems that could have been avoided if Rue just listened to Fez. Then we cut back to Cal because obviously Nate tells his dad, I don't have the tape. So he goes to Fez as if Fez even cares that he has a tape. And it is one of the funniest moments ever that I've seen in this show, where Cal is literally confessing everything to Fez, and Fez is like, what are you doing? You did all of these things with Jewel and Lyric Rue's friends, and now you have a tape, and you have, like, it's just complete madness. Ashtray is a gem again and just keeps beating his head, his literal temple, with the back end of a shotgun. And it is just the funniest scene because Cal just comes to the realization that, like, who the hell has this tape if it's not Fez? And, you know, he's the drug dealer that got into an altercation with Nate. And Fez didn't even know any of this. He just knew that Nate was screwing around with Jules and Rue's friends. And like, he wanted to help his sister, his family member in this case. And then Cal just opens a can of worms that Fez is just like completely mind blown. So it's just a mess. It is a complete mess. And then heading into episode 4, everything just gets worse. And now we're going to get into episode 4. So for those of you who have stuck around after episode 3, if you guys enjoyed this video, please like, comment, subscribe. Let me know if the show was kind of going off a cliff, because that's how I'm feeling. So let me know in the comments. So episode 4 opens with Jules and Rue narrating how much she loves Jules, and they have this like montage of these beautiful images. The one thing that I do have to say about this series is that the cinematography and the imagery has been stellar. The direction, not so much. The writing, no way in hell, but the cinematography has been just spot on every single episode, especially in episode 4. So we see this opening montage. It's Rue and Jules, and they are both reenacting certain scenes from romantic films. So there was like Brokeback Mountain, Titanic, just those moments between the two of them that you realize that, oh, they loved each other. It was an animated section as well. Like Jules was Snow White, and then Rue was her Prince Charming. So I thought that was it was really cute at the beginning of that. You saw Rue and Jules together, and you flip to the reality that is like happening in that moment while she's thinking about all this, and Jules is performing oral on Rue, and Rue has no feeling whatsoever because she is high. So she's riding that high, and it's funny because Jules is like, hey, am I doing this right? Do you like when I do that? Is this okay? And talking her through it while she's doing that. And Rue is just like, that's amazing. That's amazing, with no escalation. So she ends up faking an orgasm, and obviously Jules caught on, and it's just a really awkward way to open a show. It was an awkward way to open it. I'm sorry. I'm not gonna lie to you. I felt very uncomfortable with it, considering the way Zendaya faked it. It was just really funny and cringe that they ended up doing that. And then after that, it kind of loses its way because Rue does not narrate the rest of the episode, and it cuts to Cal, and he just loses it one night. He's like, I'm going to start drinking. I'm going to take a drive up to the old bar that I used to go to 20 years ago with my boy Derek. And he goes, he's all bandaged up. Everyone online has been saying that Ashtray kind of knocked some sense into him, but he is coming into his own during his midlife crisis and finally kind of accepting who he is. So you see him driving in that old Jeep, swinging through lanes, getting to that bar, and he feels kind of like at peace. I think that it was just, again, really weird to focus on Cal, considering that Kat has 0 screen time, and she is at Maddie's birthday, and Maddie's birthday is the entirety of this episode. So we see from episode 3, the way it left off was that Nate went to go see Maddie. He still acts like, I've known her for so long, I'm going to give her a birthday gift, I'm going to be there for her. But he still has like Cassie in his room before going to Maddie's birthday, and they're still doing everything in secret. And Cassie's like, you guys are toxic. Nate and Maddie are toxic. So Cassie is straight up telling Nate how dumb he is. And then Nate's telling Cassie how stupid she is. The writing in that scene was just really cringe. One of the worst arguments I've seen on screen. And Sydney Sweeney just snaps. She snaps. Kathy snaps on Nathaniel. And she's like, you know, Maddie's crazy, but I'm crazier. And I'm like, you know what? At this point, I want to see it. I would like to see it. Let's see Cassie. I want to see Cassie go off the deep end with Nate. I want to see it. I want to see what happens. Moving forward with Maddie's birthday. Oh my God. Cassie, Cassandra Howard, my dear, what are you doing, girl? Like, please. She was a mess the entire episode, just drinking, her eyes bloodshot, crying, just being miserable, even though like she's She treated Maddie like gold. She brought her like a nice big cake, blew out the candles, made her a scrapbook of the two of them. Like, that's friendship, man. That was friendship. That's sisterhood. Meanwhile, she's doing all this stuff with Nate, and it's just insanity. Pure insanity what happens after this. Really hard to watch Cassie go through this because I love her so much as a character. And Sydney Sweeney, again, delivered a great performance in this episode. The second that Nate steps into the house for Maddie's birthday, especially after that argument that Cassie had with Nate. So she's drinking in the bathroom, changes into her swimsuit. She looks freaking bomb. They go to the hot tub and she's piss ass drunk and messy. And it doesn't translate into what she wants from Nate, what she wants to do in that case. The rest of them get in the hot tub as well. Nate, Maddie, Nate gives her a Tiffany necklace, all that, yada, yada, yada. They have this massive argument in the hot tub. And it's about the relationship and going back and forth. She starts clapping at him, which is like something that I love the most. Kat has more than 2 lines, which is fantastic, apparently. And then at the midpoint of their argument, with Cassie literally looking so confused, I thought she was going to blurt something out and kind of like ruin it for all of them, for Nate and Maddie. And she ends up just like vomiting in the hot tub in the middle of this conversation. She starts weeping. And we all know, I mean, speaking from experience of keeping things bottled up and then drinking and then crying harder than you should in certain situations, because you're not telling people things, it's just one of the worst moments. And I got secondhand embarrassment from Cassie. My goodness, I got secondhand embarrassment watching Cassie go through that. So we have all that going on. Maddie, oh my God. Nate, oh my God. Cassie, oh my God. Lexi, sidelined as someone who's just observing everything to write down in her little play, which is hilarious. We got that. Now we're going to switch gears to Rue, Elliott, and Jules. Jules ends up cheating on Rue with Elliott. Shocking considering she was just confiding in him last episode, and they end up hooking up behind Rue's back. Even when Rue's in the bathroom and they're all hanging out, Jules is hooking up with Elliott, and then Rue comes in high as a kite as per usual and ends up kissing Jules as well. So it's just like, it's so awkward. And I'm like, everyone's taking a turn here, and it's not good writing when that happens, because then everyone has kissed someone else and it's just really awkward in terms of character dynamics. But it's one of those high school nights that kind of get away from them. And after that, the tension between the three of them changes when they go rob a convenience store. And it doesn't make sense to rob a convenience store because you can just go to Fez. So that was also stupidity on their part. And they go rob this convenience store. Rue ends up drinking. Jules is like, why are you drinking? Aren't you supposed to be clean? Blah, 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 blah. That causes an argument. And Elliott knows that Rue is high on other things while she's drinking, trying to ward that off. But like, nada, she's drinking, she doesn't care. Rue snaps at Jules. And I'm like, you know what? Yeah. She keeps forgetting that it's a sensitive topic and that she has no idea that she relapsed, but she's like reprimanding her and trying to control her. Like, why are you drinking? Why would you do that if you know that you can't take it? And Rue just snaps. She's like, you know what? Just take me home. I'm done with this. And she goes home. And the three of them are just really annoying. And I couldn't stand it. This episode just really, really pissed me off, because now the editing in the second half of this episode, it is so choppy and doesn't make sense for the timeline that they're trying to give off. They're switching from like Maddie's birthday and Cassie like absolutely spiraling to Elliott and Jules in the exact same room. They're about to hook up because Jules stays over. She turns off her phone, to Rue literally taking fentanyl. The high is really bad and you see it. You're cutting all of this. Then you're cutting to Cal going home and kind of putting his whole family on blast, which was absolutely hilarious. And I think it's one of the best Eric Dane moments ever. So you're cutting in between all this. This is where the issue lies. If you wanted to make an impact with that Rue scene and kind of showing that she is, she overdosed in that last scene, then you shouldn't have been cutting that much to other characters if you wanted that to make an impact, because it completely lost me. And I didn't like the ending of this episode because it ended so abruptly. And I know that people are going to be like, oh, but it was a creative choice and all of that. And it's like, but make it make sense. You're writing these characters, you're digging Rue into this hole that you're about to place her in because she OD'd. If she OD'd, we don't know, but it wasn't clear enough. Like, if you want to end the episode abruptly because she OD'd, then like have the end of that episode all about Rue, which it wasn't, because you kept cutting back and forth, and I didn't think it made an impact whatsoever. I think it was just really weird, and you're losing the reality of the situation because you're putting it into another plane of what happens in her mind. And I think that if you really want us to take that side of this show, that subject matter seriously, you can't have other stupid teenage issues cut into something that serious if you're trying to make people understand the urgency of this and the story that you're telling. So I think that the editing was so weak in this episode. The writing was so weak in episode 4, all jumbled. I'm really happy that Cal's like, peace out, I'm going to go live my most authentic life at this point. Basically told Nate that he was so disappointed in him. Episode 3 and 4 were really chaotic, but the show is getting messier with the technical aspects, except for the cinematography, because there's one final shot of Sydney Sweeney with beautiful roses around her and flowers, and it's stunning work, the cinematography. So this series is digging itself into a hole that I personally think they're not going to be able to get out of. And if they don't bring in new writers to take care of these characters, then I think that Sam Levinson is going to really just change these characters to the point where it's going to be used more for shock value, and you're losing the actual reason why the story deserves to be told. I really hope the rest of the episodes pick up, but for right now, episode 4 was just like off the rails, and I don't know why certain choices were made. I disagree with what's been happening with Rue in silence, and then Jules not knowing. Like, you have to be really stupid to not know that Rue like relapsed and is getting really bad. It takes Elliott to kind of open Jules's eyes. Like, I think that's really dumb writing, because your characters are not that stupid, especially when you have an entire episode dedicated to Jules and her backstory and what happened to her mother with addiction. You're really telling me that she's not going to know the person that she loves is going through the exact same thing? Like, everything that Levinson is writing is pure convenience to keep the story going, instead of actually focusing on the characters and what they need in this season for their journey. He's not looking at that whatsoever, and I'm really nervous for the ending of season 2. So that is how I feel about episode 3 and 4 of Euphoria season 2. It's a mess. It's a chaotic mess. But at the same time, can't look away. I can't look away. It's really hard to not watch the show because you're just so invested in everything that's happening. Oh man, it's just getting worse and worse. But the performances top notch from everybody. So the performances keep us coming back. The drama keeps us coming back. But these technical aspects, you got to tighten this stuff up with the writing and the editing. It needs to be fixed moving forward. It really does. So if you guys enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe. You can always follow me over at AMX NDA Reviews on Twitter, Instagram, and Letterboxd. I'll catch you guys next time. Keep watching movies.